we do virtually with dynamic teams from Zimbabwe, South Africa, so many other countries. The idea is, me traveling across Africa, I realized that there are different skills that you see in various African countries. That you'll see that what Zimbabwe has, DR Congo is lacking. What DR Congo has, Zimbabwe is lacking. And what both countries may have, maybe South Africans are lacking. So as we unite as one team, we can complement each other. We can bring skills from one part of Africa to another part of Africa. Right now, I will encourage you. There's a nation that is able to change the narrative of Africa, and that nation is called DR Congo. There's no such nation in the world. The wealth of Congo, excluding even the most recent discovery of those rare earth, that is going to drive the economy essentially, which is artificial intelligence. America is already talking about billions, if not trillions of dollars are going to be invested in artificial intelligence. And a good reserve of these natural resources are in Africa. And a good percentage of it is in the DR Congo. So sometimes Africans will hear about war and all this, and we buy into the narrative. Do your own research. Travel for yourself. Go and see and experiment for yourself. So I would encourage Africans, just like the Chinese and the other people are doing, they're targeting specific African countries. So don't limit yourself. What I've noticed is that as Africans, we know Europe better than we know Africa. We know America better than we know Africa. Africa is the richest part of the world. As we speak, we have one of the youngest populations in the world. By the year 2050, we are projecting that we're going to have about 2 billion Africans living in the continent. 2 billion is a lot of people. It's a huge market for opportunities. So, yes, we have migrated in Europe, in America, Canada, all these countries. But where you really have a chance to build wealth is in Africa. Over here, it's good for skills. It's good for you to master some technology, knowledge, develop your leadership skills, right? Because you're in an environment that is structured, well organized. But if you want to really build sustainable wealth, think about Africa. And this is coming from somebody that has been involved in the financial industry for about 30 years, working in the stock market. I'm telling people today to diversify your portfolio. Don't put all your eggs in the same basket. You need to have a foot in Africa. That's where you have opportunity to tap into tangible wealth. So, if Africa was organized, the world currency should be an African currency. So, your currency, the English pounds, draw the strength of your currency derives from the fact that England colonized so many countries and they were smart. So they also be taking some gold with them. And you guys have one of the largest gold reserves in your bank, and that gives your currency the strength. But America doesn't have any gold reserve. American dollar is a perceived value just based on the perceived strength of the American economy, right? They have the superpower, they have the weapons, driving the economy. So we feel that we can trust the currency. But anything can happen, anytime. There's no guarantee, right? But if you take a country like Congo, I remember in 2011, there was an article published by Washington Post that was trying to estimate the value of Congolese minerals. Back then, even before coltan was discovered and all these other minerals, and the estimated value was $24 trillion. $24 trillion. That was the value back then. And at that time, the American economy was, the GDP was about 16 trillion. So think about this, Congress had in their soil over 24 trillion. If you can take a portion of that 24 trillion, put it in the bank, right? Take your gold out, don't sell it, put it in the bank. Take your diamond out, put it in the bank, and then leverage it as a collateral to negotiate anything that you want. If you can do that, then you have the strongest currency in the world. Because it's backed by something tangible. It's not just printed paper. So why am I saying this? I'm telling you, put your foot in Africa. I have friends. One of my friends was actually a speaker at the conference we held last month in Congo. He's a millionaire, a multi-millionaire. Never lived abroad, made his million in Congo. And he was sharing his testimony with young people, showing that in 1997, all he had is $150 that his dad gave him in 97. $150. It's turned into millions of dollars today. That is possible in Africa. He was sharing with me, he bought a piece of property in 2014. About $290,000 is spent for the property. He has never built on it, he just fenced it. And fenced the property. It was less than an acre. It was not really a big piece of property, not even a big castle. I'm talking about Colorado, which is it's a small town in a small city in Colorado. So he bought this piece of property, $290,000 in 2014. Never built anything on it. Never built a building or structure or anything. We sold it last year for $2.2 million. We can't do it in England. We can't do it in Germany. We can't do it in Canada. We can only do it in Africa, not everywhere in Africa. Only 8% can do that. So, why am I telling you this? There must be a change in mindset. Wealth and poverty is an idea, and it's a choice. You choose to be wealthy, or you can choose to be an income earner. That's it. You can choose to be middle class, or you can choose to be wealthy. It's a choice. So my hope is that I'm talking to men and women that are dreaming to be wealthy. And that's why we are here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some very basic principles of financial planning. It's going to help you plan your life. And then the second part, we're going to talk business. Because we have a great project that we want to share, and I will be inviting you to be part of it. If you have your calculators, you can take your calculators, you will be crunching numbers together. If there was a board here, we would use it, but we have a board. So I see one there. Okay. We're gonna- Let's use our phone. Okay, let's use our phone. So I want you to draw a line which represents your life. Draw a line. This is a financial empowerment conference, so we can't talk finance without mentioning numbers. All right. So my goal was always to retire early, and I retired last year. August of last year, I retired. I'm a free bird. I can travel wherever I want to go. I don't need to report to any employer, any manager. I am free. Thank you. And yes. So let's just say you're telling your age. So I'm 57. Okay. Retirement age in America is 67. So my plan was to retire early and to pursue my dream. It is doable. We can do it. But you need some level of knowledge. You need to know how money works. Money has power. Money has the power to set you free. Free from your employer, right? Because one of you has to be fired first. If you don't fire them first, they will fire you first. Yes. So I succeeded in firing my employer last year. So, and it's just a number. And I want you to work that number. Work it out. Okay? So, in one hand, just put age 0, that's when you were born. And then the other extreme, put whatever you want. So longevity, if you want to live up to 100 years old or 120, whatever you want. So just set it up as a goal. Because longevity is one of the risks in financial realm that you need to manage. It's risky to live long because you need to provide for yourself. It's risky. It's a risk management. And if you notice that in your family, your grandparents live long, and your parents live long, your great-grandparents live long, it means you have majority of the family. And it means chances are you are going to live long. As much as you may be excited and want to live long, but think about the cost of living long. Think about it. Unless you want to be a burden to your children. Because my parent that's the plan. I'm planning to be a burden to my kids. Their retirement plan is my kids is going to succeed, is going to be great, and then my kids are going to take care of me. That's not a good financial plan. You can't build wealth in your family if that's your plan. Because you should be thinking about legacy. You should be thinking, what are you going to do to the children? And not what a burden you want to be to your children. Alright, so, and everything has to be planned. Sometimes we plan our trips better than we plan our life. There are people that are planning to travel in 2 years and they're saving money. They're already decided a vacation spot where they're going to go and everything. Think about this, your life has no value than a trip. This journey called life needs to be planned for. So that's why it's important to say, I think I'm going to die at this age. So try to exaggerate. If you feel you're going to die at 90, try to plan up to age 100. Give yourself a buffer, right? Because there's no negative impact if you leave past the age that you plan to leave. All it means is you plan for money that you can use, right? So that is legacy to the children. So now, between that age 0 to whatever age that you decided, you need to decide when do you want to become financially free, at what age. And that's what we call retirement. And we're going to plug some numbers, plug in some numbers, and try to calculate what you should be planning for financially to reach that goal. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So, who want to volunteer? What is that age? What is your dream retirement age? Maybe the younger ones that are here. The younger ones, you're lucky because you hear and you listen to these things at this young age. Because in America, we say time is what? Money. So if you have time, you have money. So the younger you are, planning for whatever we share in the bag. Who wants to volunteer? So be as realistic as possible. So don't just say, I want to retire at age 30. Because then you're going to show me how you're going to do it. So at what age do you think that reasonably that you want to be free, not depending on the job or anything?
Probably when I'm 45.
45?
Yeah.
How old are you now?
I'm 18.
Huh?
18 right now.
18?
Yes.
So just put 45, that's your retirement goal. Retirement goal is 45. So, and you want to live out to what age?
100 years old, yeah.
Okay. So you have 54 years in retirement, 55 years in retirement, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot of years. So, which means it's a huge cost involved with living 55 years past the retirement age. So you have to have money lined up so that you don't become poor at your old age. So that's the goal, right? Yes. So very good. So everybody can write their numbers. That's his example. So he's planning to retire 45. He's 18. So how many years do we have to make sound financial decisions so that you can retire 45? How many years? You got to be 45 minus 18. How many years?
Yeah, 27.
How many?
27.
So yeah, 27 years. Write it down. So that's your goal. The financial goal is, so that's why you're not going to be playing games just like your friends. Because you have a financial goal that you pursue. That's what's going to help you say no to the latest fashion design, clothing, and all these other things that are going to kind of keep you from reaching your goal. Because now you have a goal. You're 18 and you're planning to retire 45. You have a goal. So if you want to be rich, the easiest way to do it is look at how poor people do, how they live their life, and do the opposite. Do the opposite of what the majority of poor people do. Many of them are undisciplined, they're always on the show off with their live, latest fashion design, and in their pocket they have nothing. They drive the best cars better than the wealthy in most cases. But if you look at the bank account, zero. Sometimes it's even negative. So watch them and do the opposite of what they do. Do the opposite. So now we've planned our life, right? This is a big point of reference. From age 0, your parents are taking care of you. In England, that's up to what age? 23. 21? Okay. So 21. So my friends here, so we only have 2 years. Actually, that's fucking 3 years. We only have 3 years left of living free of charge. Wow. So, you gotta speak up your game, right? Because you have 3 years. And these 3 years are very crucial. If you can be productive in these 2 years, and we'll talk about savings, strategies, and all that, because building wealth is about producing things first, right? Preserve it, through savings, you gotta grow it through investment, and you gotta make good use of it through good decisions. If you do these 4 things, you're going to eliminate the eradicate poverty in your life. You gotta be intentional. You can't become rich by accident.
Yes.
You didn't plan for it. You didn't plan for it. So, yeah, 3 years, and I'll tell you why these 3 years are very crucial for you. Because remember, you have a dream to retire at 45. That's more important than anything else. It's more important than the latest iPhone. That dream is more important. Okay? All right. So now, how do we get there? How do we get there? So now let's start punching some numbers. Think about a very comfortable life that you're going to have and estimate how much does it cost per month and write it down. That's called budgeting. So I'm using a very accessible language level for it. Because we're talking about building wealth is just an idea. You don't need to know all these fancy words. Cryptocurrency, and trading options, and buying stocks, buying low, selling high, and all this. This is not just jargon, right? Somebody just gave names. And that's where the problem is with Africans. We don't name our animals. We study names that other people have given to the animals. But when God created Adam, he created the animals, but God never named an animal. He gave Adam the power to name them. Because if you can name it, you can control it, you can manage it, you can subdue it. So you just try to study what the English have named, and the Americans have named, and the Canadian, the French have named. It just sometimes creates confusion. Tell the African, do business the African way, and you'll be successful. Do it the African way. Do it in a way that makes sense to you. Do we agree?
Yes.
It has to make sense. So you don't need to become Bill Gates or whatever, Warren Buffett, and all these kind of people. Because that's the American market. So what do you do if you don't have a stock market in your country? What are the other ways that you can build wealth? So that's why we say empower Africa. So what we're doing is more relevant to Africa. It's more relevant because it takes into account the context, right? The African reality. Because we have our African reality. We take care of our cousins, nephews, and Europeans don't do that. You agree with me, right?
Yes.
So your budgeting and American budgeting, world budgeting should be different. So we have to be as accountable as possible if we want to create sustainable wealth. So now let's start punching numbers. If you figure out how much you need per month, I want somebody else to volunteer. How much do you need per month? You can walk with the mic and any volunteer, yes.
How much do I need a month?
Yes, to cover all your expenses. Just
If I just my expenses, I would say 3,000.
3,000 pounds. Okay, good. Let's take that as a 3,000 pounds. we always want to plan yearly, right? So we are going to project. Let's multiply the 3,000 by 12. So that's our annual goal. So, and then they are programs, computer programs, calculators that can factor in inflation and do all that. So, but for the time being, just to keep it simple, let's just assume we live in a perfect world and there's no inflation. So 2,000 today equal 2,000 30 years from now, 50 years from now. Just to keep it simple. But if you really wanted a financial plan that takes into consideration inflation and all that, you'll hire somebody like myself to be your financial advisor. And how we do the plan for you. But now I'm just giving you just numbers. So you can know how, if I'm helping you, how am I going to work those numbers for you? All right? With a financial advisor, it's going to be a little bit more advanced because there's more techniques and things to consider. All right? So, 3,000 times 12. How much do we have? 36,000. So we need to provide for ourselves about $36,000 a year if it was my friend's year, so that is from age 45 up to age 100. Right? So consistently, $36,000 a year. So in real life, as I said, we're going to factor in inflation every single year. We're going to stay as close to reality as possible. All right, now, what is the safest investment in the world? That is almost guaranteed, like you will never lose your capital. How do you call it?
Because you could use money.
Are you sure?
It's not.
Real estate?
It's not.
Is it guaranteed?
It's not guaranteed.
So, if I have money that I don't want to put into risk, because there's always risk in real estate. Ask the people in California, they tell you there's risk. So you know risk about it. It can be burned, where insurance companies can't help it. Right? So, how about, just to make it simple, how about your government bonds? What do you think about it? Is England about to go bankrupt?
No.
Do you have a strong company? What can the government do to repay its debt? What can they do? They can print money. They have a little bit of money. What else can they do? They can raise taxes on the citizens. Don't you think it's a little bit more guaranteed than real estate?
Yeah.
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 I would rather give my money to the person who can print it. Because worst case scenario, they will print more pounds to pay me back my money, right? Okay. So that's why government bond, I'm not suggesting you invest in government bond, but I'm just helping you to determine how to calculate your financial objective in terms of figure based on the risk-free investment. There's no risk-free because if somebody don't choose the bond on you, which I don't push, and that wipes out the entire population. So basically, that's a risk. But for now, let's just call it a risk-free investment. Risk-free because the government only when is strong. This government is a huge reserve of gold. And this government can print pounds, and the government can impose taxes on citizens to pay back the debt. Right? So go from your Google and try to find what percentage will the British government pay you if you loan money to them? It's called government bond. So try to estimate. That's what we're going to call risk-free investment. Okay? Within this context. What is that number? What is that percentage? Ask ChatGPT or whatever. Ask let's say easier. Just say what's the percentage? 3.68%. Right. Write it down is very important, because we want to be as close to reality as possible. Okay. So 3.68%. Yeah. Okay. Good. Good. Okay. Good. 3.68. This is fact. All right. We're not guessing it. It's documented. If you go to the British government and loan them money, they're willing to repay you with interest, 3.68%. Okay? So that's the risk-free rate. Risk-free rate. Now, 3.68% means 3.68 divided by 100. That's what it means. Percent. Percent means divided by 100. Okay? So you're going to do 3.68 divided by 100. They come out with a number. 0.0266. Okay? Now take your goal, in this example was $36,000, 10,000 pounds, right? Because you needed 3,000 a month, right? And the 3,000 yearly amounted to 36,000 pounds a year. Okay? So we are trying to figure out X. What is X? X is the number which is your financial goal at the risk-free rate. But when you do the investment, you're not going to invest at the risk-free rate. You're going to take some risk in real estate to get a little bit more than 3.68%. You're going to invest in stock markets to get a little bit more. You can be an entrepreneur, take a little bit more risk, and innovate in the business. And I'll be telling you about one of the avenues that you can also make money is whatever we're doing together, which is launching the bank. We are creating that. And I will tell you also how to make money being a bank owner. Who owns a bank here? You know that?
I want a bank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who owns a bank?
Who owns a bank?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I thought you said who wants a bank.
So you don't have any banking portfolio. So we'll give you an opportunity to become a bank owner, to own a bank, and to have a bank as part of your portfolio. So we'll talk about that. So now let's take that figure, which is 36,000 from your friend over there. Each one of you calculated your budget, right? Your yearly budget, your monthly budget, convert it to your yearly budget. Take that budget, the yearly budget figure, divided by 0.0368 that we figure out, risk period. So divided by, he was going to divide by, he's going to take 36,000 divided by 0.0368. The 3.68%, whatever figure. My friends who are working on 36,000 pounds a year, what number do you get? When you take 36,000 divided by 0.0368. Give me the entire figure. What was the figure? Did you calculate? Oh, did you use your calculator to figure out? Yeah, go ahead.
That's 973.
No. That'll take 36,000 divided by that 0.0 something. Don't do the opposite, don't divide 0.36 down. You take the 36,000 divided by that decimal. 978,460. That's your retirement goal. So you have to work it out backward. You gotta start with the finish line. All right, so this is the money that you say. If I can build this portfolio, which is worth 978,000 plus, if I give this figure to my government and purchase the government bonds, if they pay me 3.68%, that will equal $36,000 every year. I will never touch my 978,000. That doesn't go down. Never touch it. They just pay me 36,000 a year. So I'm getting my 3,000 every month without touching my principal. What happens to the principal when I get to 800?
Pardon?
I pass it to my chief.
Oh, yeah. Inheritance.
There's an inheritance. I've never lowered my standard of living. But my life becomes even more of a blessing because when I die, my kids are wealthy. Do you see why this knowledge is usually not shared with Africans?
So may I ask, would you repeat that last bit, please?
Okay, let's go back. Because this is very crucial. This is the foundation that makes England. You guys usually don't participate in the wealth of this country. Same goes with black people in America. Because they allow you to become a doctor, an engineer, but financial intelligence, take the secret. Your kids will never learn this. No. We've launched this program for teenagers in America from our minority communities. We are now teaching this to kids aged 12 to 18. Because my son here, who's 18, listening to this will change you. Because then I'm going to show you how to get to 917,000, right? There are principles that you have to learn to get there. But for the time being, you're just building the foundation first. Understanding that I'm going to live up to 800. That's the example that we're using, right? I want to get to
45.
Let me get your example. How much did you say you need per month?
But then, so right now, how much would I want to earn? Let's say in the future.
Yeah, in the future.
In the future, because of the starting wage, once I finish university, it's around 36,000 above from the role I want to do.
So
So
you yourself, you are married, and you have a family, and all that. How much you need?
how much do I need per month? 10,000.
10,000?
Yeah. Well,
You can ask me that.
how cool.
Exactly.
So am I paying rent all that in the house? Right, I pay rent. Yeah, mortgage. Yeah. Yeah, London rent's high. Right, cool.
4,000 right? 4,000. Okay. So 4,000. So you're going to do 4,000 times 12. So I'm helping my sister over there too, because we started over.
Okay.
48,000.
So you take the number, each one take the number per month, and multiply it by 12. That should be the only goal. You always want to plan for a full year. Don't go month by month. Some people go paycheck by paycheck. You can't do it well, just taking paycheck by paycheck. So you gotta project yourself, how much do I need per year to be comfortable? Okay? So, that's your yearly goal, okay? So we have that. The second step is, because we're trying to figure out what's X, right? What is the amount that I need to shoot for? Because if I reach that, then I can retire. I can fire my employee. Because all this while, your employer has been paying you $4,000 a month. So you're thinking about what type of situation can I create for myself, whereby I can generate $4,000 per month without needing to work. That's what financial freedom is all about. So how can I produce $4,000 a month without needing to work? Guarantee. Guarantee. Guarantee, then we talk about risk-free rate. That's what we're going to use. So that is worst case scenario. Worst come to worst, I'm going to take my money, give it to the British government, and they'll pay me 3.68%. And that 3.68% need to equal the $48,000 that I need per year. Okay?
Yeah.
So you're working it backward. So you're projecting yourself in the future and coming back. All right? So now that I have my $48,000, that's how much I need per year, because I need $4,000 per month, which means $48,000 per year. And for my friends here, he want to reach that goal at age 45. His goal is to get to this much number. So go ahead and type in 48,000 divided by 0.0368. So it's 1,304,247. That's your goal. That's where you want to be at 45. So you have 18 years.
27. 27.
27 years? Yes. We need 27 years to get there. All right? So you invest in real estate and stock market, which you typically speak. So that's how you start building your portfolio down. Yes.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
There's a system in the bank. I wonder if they do it everywhere. They call it mini ISA, mini ISA
Okay.
account. When you put your money in, after 5 years, you get more interest on it.
Yeah.
What's the difference between that and yours?
Okay. So right now, we're not investing yet.
Yeah.
We're just planning.
Okay.
Okay. We have not started investing. I'm not even going to encourage you to do it going, because if you are 1.3 million to get there,
Yeah.
you don't want to be going and putting it at the bank, because I don't know how much the bank is giving, right?
Yeah.
So this risk-free rate is just to help you set up an aggressive goal. But your investment strategy is not going to be based on risk-free rate. Investment strategy is going to be you taking more risks to get to your 1.3 million. Are we getting it now?
Yeah.
Makes sense? So you're using the risk-free rate to plan. Because you always want to plan for the worst and expect the best. Write it down. Plan for the worst, expect the best. Plan for the worst, expect the best. Okay? Now don't do the opposite. Don't plan for the best, and expect worse. So you gotta do the opposite. So always plan based on the worst case scenario. So worst case scenario, age based. If You feel, no, I'm gonna live up to 80 years old, plan for 90. Put an extra 10 years buffer. Okay? But for the rate, go with the worst case scenario. Don't do 10%. Go with the lowest rate possible. Yes. So go with the lowest rate possible so that your goal is very aggressive. Okay?
Yeah.
So that as you start making your investment decisions, which is next, because we're not talking about that yet, you just plan. Okay? So when you start making investment decisions, you want to look at your time factor, how many years you have to get. The shorter time frame to your goal, the more aggressive you need to be. So somebody who has 30 years to plan for the 1.3 million is going to be less aggressive than the person who only has 10 years to get to 1.3 million. You're going to take a little bit more risk for the younger people. So that's why time is very valuable. That's why we train parents, because if you don't know this, your kids are not going to know this. So you're not just listening for you, you're listening for your kids, you're listening for your grandchildren, because we need to tell them what I'm telling you. But sometimes our kids don't know what to do with their time. They don't know. That's why they feel, I need a video game. I need to entertain myself. Because they don't know what to do with time. But time is money. They have 24 hours in the day that they can turn into money. But if you can tell them, they don't know. All they know is to find a job. All they know is to find a job. Even the job, they don't even know what salary they should negotiate. Because there's no goal attached to the job. They're just working. And they're just making a living, but how do you decide if the income that you're making is appropriate? Based on what? Can only be based on the goal that you're pursuing. So that's how you can decide, should I settle for a job or should I start a business? Right? Yeah, because you're trying to make good use of your time. So job means I'm renting my hours. I'm putting it to rent. I'm renting it to somebody else so they can pay me for my time and skills. So you gotta take a step back and say, what if I use my time myself? Okay? I retired from my employer, but I'm still working. I have my own practice. I have an office in Dallas. I have customers that I have. They are my customers. I help them make these type of decisions. Because we only talk about retirement. We are not talking about college funding and all that. So everything is money. Nowadays, ratings are very expensive. Got to plan for it. Because it can bankrupt the family. Because they spend £20,000 for a wedding and £30,000 for a wedding. So what about instead of spending $30,000 for a wedding, what about if we raise money for down payment for the first one for the kids? To impact that. It's going to be a huge difference, right? So we need to be planning and having these type of discussions. So I charge $450 an hour for my consulting. So if I come to the UK and say, hey, I'm looking for a job that's paying £450 an hour. How many employers in London are willing to give me a job?
No, no, you're not getting a job.
They're not going to do it. So in that case, Me using my time is more valuable than me giving it to somebody else. Because I can pick my customers. If somebody is low budget, they can't be my customer. It has to be somebody who values advice more than they value their shoes or wigs. Right? Yeah. Yeah. So, but if somebody pays me $450 an hour, I'm saving their life because I'm going to make sure they will never be poor. So they're getting more value than the money that they spend. It makes sense, right?
Yes.
It does make sense. So my customers will be maybe some sport figures that we have here, those kids who have millions of pounds of contract, but they don't know the power that they hold in their hands. Usually they play with money. So now let's go back to that example. 1.3 million pounds. That's what you need. Did you write it down?
Yeah.
So you need to get there within the next 27 years. Okay? So now how do you get there? Remember the title, the theme. Who remembers the theme that we are discussing today? Yes. And the theme was what? Optimizing your income and achieving your goals. We started with goal setting first, right? Set up a goal. Now, each one of you has a goal. So your goal has to be SMART. Remember the acronym SMART? Yeah. S stands for what?
Specific.
Specific.
Measurable.
M.
Measurable.
Measurable.
A is
A is
achievable.
achievable. R.
Realistic.
Realistic.
And T is time.
And T is timely, right? And that's what it's SMART. So what we are trying to do is, remember I told you, as an African, things have to make sense for you, right? If I just come and say SMART goals, just because somebody says SMART, and you say it doesn't make you smart, you need to understand why are we calling it SMART, right? So that, but what does it mean for you? So if we set up each one of us a SMART goal, yes. Okay, is it specific? Yeah, it's very specific. I know exactly that I want to get to what? 1.3 million pounds. It's specific. Okay? Is it measurable? Yeah. I have a number. Right?
Yeah.
I have a number. I can measure it. Is it achievable? Yes. Right? Is it realistic? Yes. We did not exaggerate. Is it timely? Yes. We know it's 27 years. I gotta get there. At 45, I gotta get that 50. So it is a SMART goal. Okay? So we are talking everyday language. So we're taking financial concepts that are complex. You can go to school for 5 years to study, to get a master's degree, but I'm breaking it down in a language that you can understand. It has to make sense to you, right? Because you can't apply any concept that doesn't make sense. Now it makes sense. It makes sense. So now how do we get there? You get there by first diversifying your income sources, your sources of revenue. So generally speaking, there are 3 types of revenue streams. You have what's called active income. You can write it down. So that is income that is earned directly in exchange for your time or work. Okay? So if you're gonna have a job, it's active income. Anytime I have to put time and effort, I'm generating the type of income that's called active income. Okay? Now, how many hours do you have per day?
24 hours.
Out of the 24, how many hours do we usually work?
9. It's not 9.
So think about if I'm working 8 hours a day, okay? And I need 1.3 million. So I want us to calculate and see how much our should produce if we are only settling for active income. Because the other people only settle for jobs. So I want to work this way, okay? So I need to get to 1.2 million, and I want to do it just through active income. So now let's calculate how many hours we have. So if I'm working 8 hours per day, how many days will we work per week? 5 days. So that's how many per week? 40 hours. How many weeks a year?
52.
52 weeks. So do the 52 times 40.
It's
How much is that?
2,080.
2,080
Yeah.
times 27 years of doing it.
Which is 56,160.
How many?
56,160.
56,000. So that's the amount of hours that you have at your disposal for the next 27 years for work. If you only want to do it the active way. Okay. Now take your 1.3 million divided by that number of hours. So I'm trying to show you what type of employer you should be looking for. if you only want to work, and that is if you're not even saving, you're not even spending any of your money, which is impossible, right? Because of this bills. You can't be saving 100% of your income. You can't. On average, what is the percentage of our work that is saved? The amount of money that we produce, how much of it do we save? On average.
Are we involving taxes as well?
How much do we save per paycheck? On average.
Is tax involved? But is tax involved?
Now take 20. Yeah. So take 20% of the total number of hours. Take the total number of hours because you can't save 100% of your work. You can only save 20%, right?
Yeah.
Of the your work production. Okay. Do you see where I'm coming from? Okay. So how many hours total do you have at your disposal for 27 years?
Oh, 56,000.
6,000?
56.
56,000.
Yeah.
Take 20% of it. Those 20% you're not going to touch it. You're going to do work and they're going to pay you, but you're not going to use it. You're going to put it aside. Okay? So how much hours can you produce in the same?
I say 45 hours.
45
Hours.
Only
45,000, sorry.
20% of 60 something. Okay.
Yeah.
11,000.
Yeah. That's taken away.
200. Okay. 11,200. That's the time that's going to go into our savings, right?
Yeah.
This is, we get it, that paid. We only use 80% of the money that we got, but 20% of it we didn't touch. Okay, so I just want to show you because sometimes you go to the banks and say, save money, save this, and then you're going to be financially free. They just like to, they like to because they did talk to you. Many of them didn't ask questions about how much money they need, when they want to retire. Anything that I'm asking you, they don't have. They just put a sign there. We're going to give you 5%. And you're going to become financially free. It's not true. Because you don't know me. I didn't give you enough information to come out with that conclusion, right? So you need a financial coach. It's very, very, very important. So, how many hours?
11,200.
200. Okay, take your goal, which is 1.3 million divided by that number of hours. I'm just trying to show you how much, if you really want,
The activity.
they should pay you how much?
So 100,
1.3 million
106, that's what I got.
divided by that,
The 11,200.
how much?
116.
116 dollars.
Yeah,
116 pounds.
Yes.
116 pounds.
that's what I got.
That's what you got, right?
Yeah.
So how many employers are willing to pay 116 pounds a month?
Chances are zero.
Chances are like zero. So already you see that you cannot get to your 1.2 million by savings alone, right? Because if you want to do it by saving alone, you need to be paid at least how much? $116 pounds per month. 116 pounds. Do we agree? So that's already a cost. So I can't get my 1.3 million if the only thing I'm doing is active income. So we have to figure out something. So the second type of income is passive income. So it's better. Many of us will hear about this, but I want it to become relevant. I want us to understand what it means when we read all these big books about active income, passive income, what is it? So passive income is income that continues to generate earnings with little or no ongoing effort. For instance, I purchased a property, I rent it out. Okay? I only worked once, right? In saving and purchasing. That's when I put time and effort. But once I put it to rent, every month I get paid. Because I didn't work every month to produce that type of income, it's called passive. Passive, actively, I'm acting on it. I'm involved. I'm investing time. I'm investing effort. So that is active income. Passive is I did it once, every month I'm getting income. So it's a passive income. Dividends are passive income. Royalties are passive income. Okay? So if I publish a book with a book publishing company, and they decided you're going to pay you 7% on every sale, right? I'm getting royalties. So that is an income. If I have a YouTube channel, with a lot of viewers, and YouTube is paying me, I'm generating passive income. Not based on my work, but based on my platform that I sell. Maybe it took me years to get there, but now that I have a huge following, and YouTube is leveraging these followers to promote their own advertising for that, and those royalties are passive income. It's clear enough, right? So, what should you work to have more? Active income or passive income? Passive. Because you only have 24 hours. You can't negotiate more than that with God. You only get 24 hours to do it. But the passive income, what if I have 10 properties with 10 tenants and collecting rent from all those properties? I have multiple sources of passive income. Okay? So the third type of income is portfolio income. Okay? Portfolio income is income from financial investments such as capital gains, dividend from stocks, stock dividend, interest on savings. This is not portfolio income. So if you have to put it in order priority, what should we have more? Passive, active income, or portfolio income?
Passive.
I think that's all.
How costly is passive income?
So can you just give a recap of portfolio income?
Portfolio income is income that's generated from investments, like stock market. Okay? Today, if I want to generate passive income through rental, property rental, how much of capital should I commit? On average, money,
Let's say 30,000.
30,000.
So be the basic to start the mortgage.
Yes.
Roughly.
Roughly 30,000.
Yeah.
So based on our purchasing power, all of us here living on Africans, immigrants, how many of those property investments can we make? Let's say within a course of 10 years. If it requires at least 30,000 pounds. How long does it take us to save 30,000? How many years?
We take to 10 years.
10
years.
20 years? 10 years. 10 years. So if 10 years, so it means within the 10-year period, we only generated one investment. So if I have $30,000 today, how many portfolio investments can
I can make
I make?
even 10. Even 10.
So if we are smarter, I know Africans that are real estate is good. But don't take put all your eggs in the same basket. Okay? Too much of a good thing is bad. Write it down. Too much of a good thing is bad. Right? Because that's what keeping Africans from really doing well. Because we get excited, everybody, real estate, I buy land, I do this and that. It's good. But is it getting you into more confident? We don't know. So we gotta make sure. Gotta be looking at it, right? What happens if you bought Tesla stocks when it was first announced?
Or skyrocket.
What would have happened if you bought Amazon when he was still in his garage working with his wife?
You'll be a millionaire.
That's what portfolio investment will do for you. And most Africans who are ignorant of that portfolio, we only know active income and passive income. That's what we do.
Can you do that before?
Yes. So the portfolio income is what you're generating through your investment in the stock market. Anything that you invest in the capital market, not just stock market, the capital market in general, in the capital market. Because usually the gain potential is unlimited. It's unlimited. There's no cap. So I'll give you one simple example of my experience. When they first announced COVID, and they say COVID, they were showing us pictures about people in Italy, people that are dying and stuff like that. I knew being in the industry that the goal was really the vaccine. I know many of us knew that the goal behind all this drama was to vaccinate 7 billion people. Now, if you politicize something like that, you'll be talking like, oh, these people, all the conspiracy theory. But I'm a businessman, I started thinking, okay, they want to vaccinate. Who's going to be making these vaccines? I bought Pfizer, I bought Moderna, I bought the third one that didn't do well. But at least 2 out of 3 did well. I made about 400% return in a very short period of time because I was sitting on the right side of the table. Sometimes in the discussion table, we see on the one side. We always see the complaints.
That's good.
Like I tell people, sometimes I tell people from the conference, this meeting, I don't know what's in, wait a minute, let it make business sense. What do they need to scale? They need to dig it. What if I invest in digging it? So when they scale it, how are they transporting it? What if I invest in helping the thief? to take it to the harbor. You can be smart. Because there are things that you will never change. You can complain all day long. It's not going to change anything. But think about they got to move into a certain country because there's no ocean where they're mining. Ocean is in Dar es Salaam. So how many countries in between do they have to go through? What about technology? They need technology. They need security, right? They need security. All these are exciting business opportunities. You gotta choose what side of the table do you want to sit. Do you want to be complaining all day long? And the people that have the minerals don't have the technology anyway. Even if they didn't come, if the people who need it didn't come, it's not going to serve any purpose. Give it to those who need it. And do business in between. So if you politicize everything, you're going to be on the wrong side. On the wrong side. Always on the wrong side. So they talk business. America says AI. They're ready to go to Ukraine and start doing some digging. In Africa, we have everything Ukraine these days. We have even more reserves of that. So in Africa, we should be thinking, hey, Trump, come here. We're going to put our money together. We're going to be part of this big venture. Apple is already ready to invest $500 billion. Trump announced it. That's a lot of money. So if you are in IT, be thinking technology that goes with it. They already built data centers. Yes. So one of our members, and I'll be telling you about our investment network. She's a lady. She's a widow. And she lives in the house. In Ethiopia. She is in transport and logistics. She only has 20 trucks. 20 trucks. Last year, she made $5 million revenue. She doesn't live in England. She lives in Congo. She doesn't live in Kinshasa. She lives in the West. She only has 20 trucks. And she made $5 million in this. She just got a huge contract which requires 100 trucks. She only has 20. And she's waiting for partners. Which will bring out 80 trucks. If 20 trucks can produce 5 million, how about 100? Do the math. And then we many to bring this down running. Because we don't need the value of this. Out of time. We're going to change the So I'm helping my fellow Africans to redefine the vision of immigration. Over here, we have a picture that is short, right? How do they do this? Every 2 weeks, every month, every week? Monthly. So at least 12 paychecks, for sure. There's no explaining, there's no missing 1 month, right? If it's short, it's short, you know it. So it's easy here to project and say 2025, I'm gonna get 12 paychecks, and this is a part of my paycheck. Now you got to decide how much of each one to turn into capital. That's your decision. Either, if you want to be comfortable in number, you now want to get a breath. Start eating things all month long until you get to that financial goal. Please, even for 1 year, because you need to get that 10,000 pounds, 20,000 pounds capital, 30,000. Work some extra hours, work overtime, right? Work hard and produce capital. You can't just do business as usual and dream to be rough. It doesn't work. I told you, if you want to be rough, look at how poor people live and do the opposite. Poor people, they have nothing but they eat the best steak. They're in restaurants every single weekend. But they don't have money. Right? So it's important to have more of portfolio income. And portfolio income starts with you working as hard as you can and saving as hard as you can. Work as hard, save as hard. Because the only income that's really sure is your active income. So I even tell people, don't spend your active income. Your active income, turn it into capital. Invest the capital and spend the dividend on the capital. So the rule of thumb is to have at least 4 streams of income. You can write it down, at least 4, minimum. So in those 4, I will encourage you that 1 active and at least 3 portfolio. And then once you build enough of capital in your portfolio income, then you can stabilize it into passive income. Then you can put it in real estate. But don't start with real estate. Okay? Because if you have 30,000, why do you put the entire 30,000 in real estate? You don't want to do that. So you first want to build portfolio income of 30,000, and then whatever money you make from your portfolio income, now you can invest in real estate for stability. Because real estate is always long term, right? It's a long term investment. But portfolio income can change within a year. Market can die, right? Opportunity can die. There's also a lot of risks, so we can always talk about how to manage risk. But very, very important to me. So, work hard, save hard. Minimum 20%. That's the minimum. 20%, these are baby steps. And then grow your savings muscle. Right?
Yeah.
Go from 20 to 30%, from 30% to 40%. The last 7 years before I was retired, I was saving 60%. Because I had to speed up the game. And I was working 700 hours of overtime a year. 700 hours of overtime per year. So I was doing my 2,080 hours plus 700. So I was working 2,780 hours a year for 7 years. And saving 60% of my income. Only living off 4%. So you don't get rich by accident. It doesn't happen like that. Or a miracle. It doesn't happen like that. You don't get rich through prayer. I'm a pastor, I'm telling you. If it was true, Africa would be the richest. Africa would be the richest. Because we pray more than anybody. So making money is just one part. You gotta save money, and you got to invest money. only working within half of the job that you should do. Right? So for my son here, why should you do all that? Because you want to retire full-time. If you know the why behind the what, it will keep you motivated. Yes. So because sometimes people think, yeah, I want to enjoy my life. Yes, we're talking about the best way to enjoy your life. This is the best way. The best way is to finish the job, you owe nothing to anybody else, no employer, nobody, and you can travel anywhere you want to, whatever you want to. That's the best way. Alright? But if you want to eat your dessert before your meal, then it becomes confusing. Yes, many people want to eat dessert before the meal. They don't have a party at 18. I want a party. You have time to party later. At 18, make sacrifices. God did not party the first day of his creation. Not even the second day, not even the third day, not even the fifth day, not even the sixth day. He only partied on the seventh day. Gotta finish the job first. I figured you party a lot. At the wrong time. You didn't come to England to party. You came to England to become financially free. That was the goal. That was the goal. That was the goal. So work as hard as you can, save as hard as you can, invest as hard as you can until you get to that goal. Then you can relax. And you can do whatever you want to do. All right? Yes. Okay. So let me get some few questions, then we'll close. And then I'll talk to you about our bank project because that is what we call portfolio investment. Portfolio investment is buying a bank is a portfolio investment, so we'll talk about it. Questions? Yes.
When you talk about, like you said that you need to invest, you need to invest hard, we need to work hard and save as hard as possible. So, is it like, how do you get to that stage where like you're able not to master the money? Is that like, what you say, I think it reminds me of the Bible like Joseph. Joseph was good in terms of saving and investing. Joseph was very profitable. So I'm wondering, like, how do you get to that stage? How do you develop that skill?
Okay, good. It takes three things. It takes knowledge first. Receive knowledge. Gather knowledge. Through books, through conferences like this, and communities, because some other young men your age, maybe very young, but they didn't value it. You got to remember to value it. And you're here. So knowledge is key. The second thing is wisdom. Wisdom is the application of the knowledge. Practice it. So if you just, okay, I gotta say, but you don't practice saying, you're not gonna run. Right? So as you practice, you're gonna get rewarded. Because just think about this. If you set aside, take your income and calculate who's been working for at least 20 years. You've been working, you've been actively working for at least 20 years. Okay, 20. So think about your income for the last 20 years. Add them up and set aside 20% of it. This is the money that you should have had now. Minimum. All the money you paid, add up everything, and set aside 20%. I said those are baby steps, right? The minimum, the bare minimum of money that you should have now, if I came to your life 20 years ago. If we had this conference 20 years ago, this is the type of money you should have. So now you can project yourself in the future and say, how do I want to see the next 20 years of my life? So That's the money. And that's the best way to prophesy, right? We can prophesy, in 20 years, I'm going to have this much. Because a bunch of numbers in the next sentence, I'll get there in 20 years. Right? So we can be better and be confident. Because it takes what? Knowledge? It takes application of wisdom. What do you say? Wisdom is the application of knowledge. So if you apply the knowledge, that's wisdom. So you got to put it into practice. You got to apply from today. Even young people, if you're in a job that gives you £100, how much should you set aside right away? 20. Don't even think about it. You know what it is. All right? You get 100 minus 20. Whether it's a gift or if it's a gift, you go 50%. Because you didn't plan for it. Yeah. But for the kids, I'll say 20. Right? At least 20% is saved. So do that in the system. And the third thing is mentorship. We need a coach. We need a mentor. We need somebody who can hold you accountable. You need to talk to somebody and say, my goal for 2025 is to get to this objective. And can you be my accountability partner? Maybe once a year, check back with me and make sure that I'm true to what I promised myself to do. Right? Because we can easily be sidetracked, right? Very easily, life can get busy and we can forget about everything that I said. If you're an accountability partner, right? Somebody can hold you accountable. That will help you to also grow and get to that.
I have one last question. How do you, in terms of finances, how do you also, remain wise in the sense that you don't become too greedy? Because also, I think there's a scripture in the Bible says that love of money is the root of evil. And there are many people now that they come to church, just seeking for money, and some pastors they just preach about that. Prosperity. So how do you maintain the balance? Because I think in the Bible, people like Solomon, they were very wealthy, but just some of them kind of they're funny to see.
Yes.
So how do you maintain that?
You're wise, because I can see the thinking process. So you're not just listening. You're not just hearing, you listen and you reflect, which is a very good point. Yes. So remember, I talked about the 4 dimensions of growth. So you got to create it, you got to preserve it, you got to multiply it, you got to grow it, and you got to make good use of it. So the 4th element is what you see. So basically, God always does a heart check. Because God has nothing, there's no problem with money or wealth. So if you look at the story of the young man who was rich, what was the problem? He didn't have any problem producing wealth, saving it, growing it, because he created wealth. But Jesus said there's one last thing that will qualify you to get into the kingdom is how do you use your wealth? All right, so the reality is we are born empty-handed, we will die empty-handed. Between these two realities, God will trust us with the wealth of this world. Money is the tool. That's my short answer. Money is the tool. When you make money a pursuit, it becomes a root of all evil. But if it's a tool, because you want quality education for your kids, for your neighbors, for your family, you care about the poor, and you are creating wealth to take care of the poor. You're creating wealth to take care of your family, to take care of your church, to take care of your community. So If that is your heart attitude, then you're safe. And go after as many millions as possible, because think about this. How many poor people do you see on? A lot, right? How much does it, if you ever ask yourself, how much does it take, how much does it cost to take one street person out of the street? Sometimes we don't think about it because we don't think it's our responsibility. God is in your neighborhood. So the minute you start thinking, ooh, there's so many homeless people in London, and to get one of them off the street is going to cost maybe £10,000. So if I want to get 10 of them out, I need at least £100,000. Then I go to business to generate £100,000 so I can get those 10 people out of the street. It changes everything. You become a vessel that God can use. The same goes in your own family. How many poor people do you have in your family? There's a lot. So when you make it your goal, I always say that a wealthy person in the kingdom of God is God's finance minister sent to the poor. Your wealth is a tool that God will use to bless other people. Once you understand it, then you will make more money and you will never go astray. You will be faithful.
Yeah.
And at the end of the call, that is going to say, good and faithful servant. That's what you want to do. Yes. Over here.
Over here.
Over here.
I just want to say, if you have a question and you don't want to ask in English, feel free to go ahead, French or any other language. We'll make sure we translate it. Feel free, please. Consultez-vous de poser la question à n'importe quelle langue où vous vous sentez confortable, notamment interprète.
Right. For the purpose of people who don't speak French, everyone with my French accent. How can I remain after hearing everything you say? I can reflect myself as I've made while making bad decisions. How can I remain focused from now on that I've been exposed to knowledge with the ever increasing demand from our families, from our churches, from everyone around us?
Great question. So, first, we got to belong. We need a group. So, we talked about we need to create a group of like-minded people from this meeting. We need to stay connected. So, we're going to do to our WhatsApp group, and then we're going to have meetings like this one. We can do virtually, we can do the personal right now with the technology. There's so many things that we can do through Zoom and all that. So you always want to stay connected with like-minded people. Because if, from what you're hearing here, if you go out and sadly you're surrounded with negative people and people that don't have the same vision, and it becomes very difficult to stay focused. So that's really the key, and that's a great question. So we are going to be providing the opportunity to join. We have what we call the Investors Network. So we put our money together. I'll go into more details about that. Let's stay connected. Let's go find the best continue to work together. This session is being recorded. Okay. This session is recorded, so it's going to be also posted on YouTube. So now you can listen to it again. You can watch it. Share live. We are also live. Yes, we are live right now. And also share with your family members. I always tell people, like next time if we say we are coming together, bring your family members. Because if they get access to the same knowledge, it's going to save you some money too. So, because we are Africans, and I'm prospering and my brother's not prospering, I'm going to take care of them, right?
Yeah.
But if I bring them to the source, where they can also learn from themselves, then it allows the entire family to be financially free, and we can use our money for other things. Yes. Next question? Yes.
Obviously, I'm 18 right now, isn't it?
Right. Okay. Thank you.
I'm not saying I have anything against what I'm about to say, but obviously, often when teenagers start to work, their parents want them to like help out in the house. Obviously, I'd love to do that. I'd love to help my parents if they have any issues, right? But as a 18-year-old, let's say you're earning £14 an hour and you're only working, let's say 21 hours a week, so that's part time, and let's say your parents wanted you to help pay the rent. How would you be able to manage your money? Let's say it feels costly.
Well, that's a great question. So that's why sometimes it's important as a family to go through this, because if the parents are well thought, and because that time, remember I told you you were 18, and your parents say at 21, they don't keep you out. Yes. So it may or may not happen. But so think about they're taking care of you, you're not spending anything. You shouldn't be thinking saving 20%. You should be thinking saving 100%. Right? So work as hard as you can. In Africa, I was telling some young people that upset, I said, negotiate with your parents when you turn 21. Negotiate and say, I'll pay for my room, or I'll pay for my bed. Because that's the cheapest rent that you can get. That's the cheapest you can get. The minute you get out, life start becoming more and more expensive. So if you can negotiate the next 3 years, 5 years of really not paying the full rent, that is money you can say, okay, for if you're sharing the bed with your brother, for the side of the bed that you maybe 20 pounds a month or whatever. And the parent can even be saving that money for you, but they may just use that to teach you some level of discipline, taking care of yourself. But take advantage of that. So, going back to your question, now your parent wants you to contribute. Let's say, unfortunately, the parent were not able to provide for you, and now you're 18 and working, just really contribute.
One last question. Would you think, or do you think it's smart? Let's say, obviously, I want to do this. Let's say I stay at my parents' house, I carry on saving money until I have enough amount of money to move out of the house. And let's say buy a house or get a mortgage to myself. Would you think it's better to stay at my parents' house until I'm able to move out?
Yes. So negotiate to stay as long as you can. Don't get married too soon.
Yeah.
So, because if you want a man, if you want to marry, you need to provide for your woman.
Yeah.
So don't just do it by faith. So, it's gotta be responsible. Sometimes hold off first, right? Discipline is put your life in order first. Because if your life is not stable financially and you're going to get married, like 2 unstable people will create an unstable marriage. So, and financial decisions is one of the most important decisions, even when it comes to like starting a family and all that. So, and also don't marry anybody. So you should also hope that the other part is also getting access to the same type of knowledge. Because if they don't know how to save, they don't have any vision for the future, then it's going to be a huge problem for you. So get engaged when it's time to do it. Don't do it too early. But take advantage of you being with your parents and gaining all this knowledge and using it to your advantage. And save as much as you can. Work hard when you stay in the family. And save as much as you can. And be selective as far as relationships with people, especially with people of opposite sex. Don't just go for the look, go for the wisdom that they can. Because if the two of you are wise, then you can build a solid family.
Yeah.
All right?
Yes. Can I have one? Sorry.
Okay. Yes. So we have an hour left. What we can do is let's eat something, drink Yeah. Go ahead, yourself. Get recharged. We have 5 minutes. And then we'll talk about the practical side of things.
I think she just one more question.
I just,
One more question, right?
sorry, just one question I want to ask. What would be the best decision to make in investment at, like some of us came here late in life in UK and with age related, like 45 plus, and what will be the best investment decision? And also in planning on relocating, for example, back home to Congo, what will be the safety net to create for yourself to make sure that you'll be safer as you go into the type of investment you want to invest and to be safe financially? So just those two questions.
Yes, so these are very, very important questions. If you're studying late in life, there's always hope. There's always hope. It simply means that you maybe need to make more sacrifices because time is not on the side. So you really have to simplify your life and be really focused on what you want to achieve. So the first investment I'll say is having a very good financial coach, because you don't have enough room for making mistakes. So maybe the first investment to do is to say, just like Pharaoh did, you don't really have to be smart to be rich. You just need to connect yourself with the right resources. That's the key. Whether you're Pharaoh or whatever, find a Joseph. Find a Joseph. Find somebody who can save you time. Somebody that you can talk to.
Yes.
And say, this is my age. This is how I dream of living the rest of my life. This is what I have. How can I go from what I have to where I want to be? So that's the first investment that you need. So you can design the plan and they can help you navigate through it. What makes America rich is because everybody has a financial plan. So even somebody who doesn't have enough money, they make it a priority. Because you want to have the knowledge that you need to get to where you want to. As far as Congo, not Congo, Africa in general, there's a lot of opportunities. But I always tell people is, if you here, you are the driver, you are the babysitter, you are cleaning the house by yourself. There's so many things that you do. The trade-off with Africa is you can easily borrow other people's hands, where they can free your time. And that's huge. If you can free your time to just be thinking, and using your hands, you can have 5 stores and put girls to sell for you. And all you have to do is account for it at the end of the day. This one sold this much, this one you can have a barber shop here, you can have something else there, you can have a taxi. So there's so many things. So for people that are here, you need to get information about opportunities in Africa. You need to connect. That's why connecting to our platform is really the key, because you can meet the right partners and all that. Secondly, save your money in England. Save as much as you can, because your money has power in Africa. So in Africa, even small capital can start a big business. It doesn't require as much as what we need. So save as much as you can and connect yourself with the right people. All right?
Thank you.
Yeah, so while we're on a break, there's a book stand over there with copies of the books that Dr. Jose has published. And those that came late, I'll do this story according to the 10 rank and 5 stories. Yeah, and feel free to live with each other as well.
So about
5 minutes. Just in a 5-minute break. I don't think that.
People are asking questions. What's that? Me? I'm not onto that. I'm onto like business, mate.
What do you think?
I'm onto business.